Hello and welcome to the Airshow room. We are a brand new podcast starting out in the end of 2025 for the 2026 Airshow season. We're going to be discussing things like UK airshows around Europe, participants, and what we think of shows that we have been to throughout the 2026 Airshow season. My name is Dan. I am your host of the Airshow room, and joining me are my two co-hosts, Harry.
Hello.
And Chloe.
Hello.
So, we're going to get straight on into the information that's been coming out of air shows for the last couple of weeks. We've been getting some early Christmas presents, and I think we can say for the first episode and the first set of announcements that we're going to talk about from the Duxford Summer Air Show are probably some of the best Christmas presents we could have asked for this side of Christmas. So, if you have not been caught up with Duxford, letting you know what has been announced, the Flying Bulls look like they might be back on a UK tour this year, which they will be bringing not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 of their brilliant warbirds from their Flying Bulls collection. We are getting the B-25, the P-38, the P-51, the F4U Corsair, and the Bearcat, all coming over for the Summer Air Festival, which is brilliant news. It's nice to see them again. You know, we had quite a hiatus since the last time we had quite a lot of their aircraft in the UK. And now we are back with 2026 having a lot of their warbirds. And their new Bearcat, which is in the Blue Angels livery. Okay, so it's original Blue Angels livery. Which would mean that our number of Bearcats now in Europe has gone up to which has gone up to 2, with the other one being based in Duxford. So does that potentially introduce the idea of 2 Bearcats flying in the same air show for the first time that I can think of in 2026?
Well, all I'm going to say is that as I am very much looking forward to seeing the Flying Bulls and their collection. I'm a massive fan of historical aircraft, and seeing what is on offer, I absolutely cannot wait. I especially cannot wait to see a Corsair, which happens to be one of my favourite aircraft.
I don't remember the last time I saw a Corsair because I was unfortunately not able to attend Sywell in 2024. So it means I haven't seen a Corsair for as long as I can remember now. Potentially, we must be the other side of COVID now. It must be 2019 or previous. But it's nice to see that we are going to be getting another one over. There is also rumours, and I don't know how true it is, that we might be getting a second one, I believe, from the Flying Legends collection from Germany. They might be bringing their Corsair and P-51. That is not confirmed. It did self-confirm, and then the information kind of disappeared. So I don't know whether or not that's going to happen, but we could end up having 2 Corsairs in the same air show as well.
That sounds amazing. And I will also add, obviously, saying the Corsair, but also another one on that list is the P-38 Lightning. And as a World War II buff, I also really like that as well, obviously along with the Corsair as well, but the P-38 is honestly, it's just one of the strangest aircraft that the Americans used. I mean, there are plenty of other stranger ones, but just the fact that it's a twin engine, twin tail aircraft, and it's just one of those that was used. It wasn't very effective in Europe, but it was very effective in the Pacific. For reasons.
Do you know what I found out the other day? I found out the other day that they actually made 10,000 units of it.
Yeah, that's something that always surprised me, like how many of them they made.
Because there's not many that's been preserved. Like, if we think about the UK, I can't think of a museum, and again, viewers, correct me if I'm wrong on our social media, I can't think of a P-38 statically in a museum in the UK. I know we haven't seen one when we've been to museums. I don't think there is, and I'm pretty certain that there's none in the UK. So again, this is the first time that I will see the P-38 again, missing it at Sywell. What an air show apparently that was, and unfortunately didn't get to go to it. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate with that.
Actually, a little small fun fact: the front of the P-38 was actually the inspiration for a line of Studebaker cars in the 1950s in the States. Yeah,
was it?
Yeah, it actually inspired the front end of the 1950 Studebaker Champion. Because of the just because of obviously the strange designs. Obviously, you've got the two engines, and you've got the nose in the middle. So basically, that three-way display has actually inspired it. And also another fun fact, which is something very interesting. You obviously know about the speeder bike chase from the Star Wars films.
Yep.
The speeder bike were actually the speeder bike engine, the whining sound that you hear, was partly achieved by recording the engine noise of a P38 and also a P51. So they actually combined both to make that noise. So that's a little fun fact from
I
me.
did not know that either.
Oh yeah,
That is ace.
yeah, it really is ace. I was absolutely ecstatic when I found that out.
That's really, really cool. Clay, what do you think about the Bearcat then? Because I know you're a fan of the Blue Angels. I know you like them.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about having an old Warbird, one of the original Blue Angel sort of aircraft? Obviously, I don't think it was used originally in the Blue Angels team, but it is in the Blue Angels scheme. What do you think about that?
I'm really excited for it because I'm a sucker for a Bearcat. It's really underrated.
You also like special schemes as well, don't you?
I do. I absolutely love NATO Tiger meets for the special schemes.
So, yeah, absolutely looking forward to Duxford. I think we haven't bought tickets yet as a group, though as soon as I posted this in, Harry did literally shout into our group saying that we are going. So I guess we end up going to be spending money going to Duxford this year, at least for the summer air show, to see this stuff. I mean, we've missed out the B25. I think it's brilliant, isn't it, when you are discussing things like the Corsair, the Bearcat, and the P38, is that the B25 Mitchell, it's kind of like it goes as a fourth sort of tier participant, which is so weird to say, with only two of them being in Europe currently, potentially a third on the way to Switzerland. But yeah, no, it's amazing.
No, yeah, you don't have a choice because we're going to that because I am definitely not missing out on the.
I'm being dragged there. We know whether or not I like it or not.
I'm not missing out on the chance to see these beautiful oldies, is what I'm going to call them, because that is what they are.
I'm also looking forward to, with Duxford, obviously, you're able to do the flight line walk. So that means we can get up close to these aircraft as well, which is even better. Because obviously, you've got air shows like Riyadh and Midlands, etc., where the aircraft are parked away from you or parked at different airfields. With Duxford, it's one of the things that I've always said, like, yeah, it's a brilliant thing of them doing the flight line walk, because we get to get up close to all the aircraft that you then see flying that day, which is, again, not very something similar. I guess you get it with Riyadh a little bit with the east and west park zones, but again, that's one of my favourite things, and seeing these aircraft, like when we got to see Ready for Duty last year, which I'm sure we'll come back onto later when we talk about Midlands, when we talk about the Catalina, but that's jumping slightly ahead.
Oh, it's going to be very good.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about Duxford. Let's go to the other air show that's been announcing things very, very early on. I think all the way back in, I believe, September, October time, when we got our first announcement from them. And also have just followed our social media, so thank you, Midlands Air Festival. Well, they've got a diverse, I think, would be the best way to describe it, lineup so far. We'll start with the Bronco. I haven't seen the Bronco since 2024 as well, so everything seems to be 2024 the last time I saw it, which ironically was at Midlands Air Festival. The first time we all ever went, I think you didn't join us for that one, Harry, but you came last year, didn't you?
I believe I did. It's trying.
You came last year. I know you came last year. I don't think you came the time before.
No, I definitely came last year, not the year before.
Yeah. So we get to see the Bronco again. Obviously, I think it's one flying in Europe, so it's very, very rare. Use Vietnam era spotter planes, things. I think it's even had people jump out the back of some before. It's always a very weird aircraft, and obviously can operate from grass strips.
Yeah. It's also flown by Tony De Bruyn, who's a really good flyer of it, pilot of it.
Yeah, he's always flown the Bronco back. Seen it many times before in the past, and it's honestly one of the best sort of prop displays. They do fly it about a lot. It's a very weird aircraft to see in the sky. Again, it's looking at that sort of dual tail kind of configuration of the P38. But yeah, it's ex Vietnam, ex sort of Cold War era, sort of your light attack / reconnaissance / everything utility aircraft.
Yeah, I always find it strange how common the dual tail is. Like, I always found it just an unusual configuration.
So yeah, no, it was a really common thing, especially in the Cold War, due to heat-seeking missiles. So it's used to cover up especially in things like the A-10 Warthog. That's why you had the sort of dual tail slats on a lot of the aircraft. It's to cover up the heat from the engines, because you had the really sort of they weren't as good. Now something like that wouldn't be effective at all. But when they originally first came out as heat-seeking missiles, they were there to almost block off that sort of heat from the engines.
Ah, okay. That's very interesting. I did not know that.
It also deliberately takes off and lands on the grass airstrip to show off what they used to do in service. So that's all done deliberately.
Which obviously helps with being Midlands Air Festival being a grass strip.
Yeah.
Being very intimate.
They call it the jungle strip.
The jungle strip?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So obviously taking the Vietnam era kind of sort of theme from it and call it the jungle strip. That's cool.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool to
are
see.
these jungles without the work canopies, or jungles with canopies?
Is that pre or post napalm?
Post napalm. No. I think it's Agent Orange in this game.
Okay. Then we've also got P-51 Marinelle. Recently, I believe, relocated to Sywell, which I didn't get to see last year. I don't think we saw at all in the UK.
It's the first time flying at Midlands.
First time flying at Midlands.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna be cool. I believe I've seen it before at Duxford, but not any time recently. I think it was meant to come to the Battle of Britain show last year, and then it went to somewhere in France, I believe. So, first time for Midlands, and it's always nice to have obviously World War II warbird in the flying display as well.
And flown by Elizabeth Rutland.
Elizabeth Rutland.
So flown by a woman as well.
And we also have the Catalina, which will be coming as well. Miss Pickup. Again, a regular of UK air shows. I know we've probably seen Miss Pickup 2 or 3 times last year from air shows. And again, it's a really, really, really good site. I think, we must have seen it. We must have seen it at least Duxford at least once. Yep. We saw it at Riat on Static. We saw it at the Victory show
Pretty sure it was, yeah. Because it's not been to Midlands for a while.
So, I mean, again, really, really cool to see. Really, really cool to see. And yeah, I mean, a fun fact I always love to throw out there is the two radial engines on the top, which I'm sure Chloe will be able to tell you more about. Really, really popular engines for big transport aircraft from World War II.
Cylinder twin Rosp radial engines, to be precise.
Yep. And what aircraft? Here's a question for you. What aircraft were they commonly used on in World War II? Does anyone know?
I feel like I should know this, but the thought is escaping my mind.
C-47.
Yep, so it's using the C-47 Skytrain. It was the most mass-produced engine, I believe, ever. I might be wrong on that fact. It was the most mass-produced engine ever, and it's still being produced to this day by a company in Florida. Now, we were told that when we had our tour round ready for duty last year at Riat. Well, I say last year, it was this year. I keep saying last year. I feel like we're already in 2026. This year at Riat, when we got a nice tour around the aircraft. Brilliant crew, by the way, and what they were doing by trying to get the remains of British pilots back to the UK as well. Absolutely brilliant people. And I could have stood there and talked for days about all the aircraft and what they're doing, etc. But yeah, commonly used on these aircraft because they're still being used in transport missions, things like in Alaska and stuff like that. And they are, still being produced by a company in Florida, which actually Ready for Duty went and picked up a couple of the engines and transported them to their base of operations to use on the aircraft, which I think is brilliant that he's using the engines to pick up the same engines. It's cool that this sort of stuff is still being produced to this day.
Indeed, I would agree with that. And actually, just speaking of Alaska, another little fun fact from me is that Catalinas were another World War II fact. They were actually used in the Aleutian Islands campaign, which is, if any of you know, to any people who know how and know of that campaign, you would know that this was fought in the nearly Arctic conditions. It was just obviously this was near Alaska. and these planes were so resilient that they could even fly in that chain of islands because the weather was awful. There was hardly any runways, and yet it actually helped a lot with maritime patrol against Japanese forces. Actually, the amount of roles that the Catalina has is insane. Anti-submarine warfare, as I've already mentioned, maritime patrol, night attacks, search and rescue. It has so many uses. It's a fantastic and versatile aircraft.
Yeah, I believe Miss Pickup was used previously as something else, or at least the Catalinas were used as something else.
I'm trying to can't know off the top of my head.
And Firewater Bomber,
Firewater bombers.
before being purchased by Plain Sailing Air Displays to replace their first Catalina.
So you're saying that Biz Pickup was so Plain Sailing had another Catalina previously,
Yeah,
and then bought Miss Pickup, or as we know now, Miss Pickup from a firefighting company. Then,
yes.
so it was originally a water bomber.
Yeah,
Wow.
originally Water Bomber.
So Miss Pickup has its own history as well as not just being reconnaissance, but also then being used to fight fires and stuff like that.
Dan, what is your thoughts on actually Dan and Claire? This actually goes up to both of you. What are your thoughts on the possible revival of the Catalina?
How so? This is news to me. Go on.
Well, apparently a company called Catalina Aircraft. They're the current holder of the type certificates for the Catalina aircraft itself. And this was back in 23. They announced their intent to actually build as they dubbed it, the Catalina 2, which is basically a brand new aircraft using the basic design principles of the original one, but using turboprop engines and other modern aviation tools. And they say that deliveries for this aircraft are set to commence by 2029. I mean, obviously it's a good 4 years away, but the fact that the actual design's principle, just the design of the Catalina is even wanting to be revived is almost, it's just bewilderment. It shows that how versatile the aircraft is, that a company wants to, well, bring it back in a sense.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Buff, right? It's an aircraft that never seems to go away. So if they're thinking of bringing out a second one, I mean,
that aircraft, the B-20, that's never going to get replaced. That's going to be that's going to be alive. Like when we start colonizing space, that's going to be some of the first things that go up there. It's going to be airtight. It's going to just. You're not going to see cool spaceship. You're just going to see a modified modified B-29. That's all you're going to see.
honestly, it's really cool. I assume then it's going to be used for military purposes, or are they going to use it as water cargo? Or have you not said?
I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
So it might be used for military, but I think the more common usage of it will be primarily just transportation, like cargo and patrol. And it says basically it'll be able to have different variants that will cater to all different aspects, all different areas of society. So you've got private, you've got commercial, government, and even military. So we could potentially be seeing it in military service in the 2030s if everything still goes ahead.
Fair enough. That is, again, news to my ears, new news, and hopefully, I mean, it'd be nice to see a modern Catalina, I guess.
I would. Yeah, I'd very much like to see it.
I'd like to see it as well.
Okay, and then the final thing that was announced today of recording, which is the 20th of December. Midlands Air Festival gave us a nice little pre-early Christmas present with the Stomp display team, which flies 4 of the Stomp aircraft. For anyone that doesn't know, that is the French version of the French trainer biplane they originally used, kind of like what would be our Tiger Moth. Something that's quite versatile, but again, it's going to be a little bit difficult so that the pilots could get used to aircraft being sort of thrown about in the wind, etc. Again, quite a regular sight of your sort of smaller shows. They've been to Duxford before, they've been to Midlands before. Brilliant little display team. And it's always nice to see these little niche things, these niche civilian teams.
Indeed.
They've been flying for nearly 50 years as well.
50 years.
Nearly 50.
Nearly 50 years.
Not quite at the 50-year mark yet.
So nearly at their half centenary then.
Yes. It's currently led by Richard Ward as well, for those of you that want to know.
Okay. So yeah, brilliant little display team. Brilliant little I guess it's the first display team of Midlands. I don't know whether or not we'll get another one. Maybe, hint, hint. We'll see. But yeah, a good start to Midlands Air Festival as well. And a good start to the 2026 Airshow season. We'll slightly take off, and no pun intended, slightly take off. Slightly go off course and go on to, which is my highlight of every single year, and I know it's a lot of aviation fans' highlight of every single year, is go on to the Royal International Air 2 for 2026. We know the theme for that is going to be fighter meet, which ironically I guessed it was going to be that at the end of 2025 when we walked out of the show on the Saturday and I saw the board saying come back for 2026. Now, for those of you that listen to the podcast, we do predictions every year where we predict the theme and then we predict aircraft that are going to come. It's just a little bit of fun to get us into the sort of rate mood. And Harry decided he was going to steal that idea on that day and told me that I was not allowed to have it. And what did it turn out to be? Oh, yeah, it turned out to be that was going to be the theme. So Harry got a point.
But yourself.
Harry got a point, and Chloe also got a point as well because you went with fast jets. Harry, you went with dogfighters, and it turned out to be both. So, you lucky so-and-sos.
You wonder, one year you will get a point.
Yeah, it is not going to happen anytime soon.
No.
So, the idea of talking about this is, what if we could pick one aircraft? Okay, and I know I'm throwing you on the spot because I didn't plan on doing this, so I do apologise. If we could pick one aircraft currently in military service that's got a chance of coming, so we're not going to say like the SR-71 or something, right, or the F-117, but it's got a chance of coming, what would it be? And I'm more than happily to start off by letting you guys give you time to think, but my ideal thing for this would be, because of it starting last year and it having its first display season, would be the German Typhoon, the German Tonka. It went to Malta, it went to Poland. I think that would be a brilliant addition to the flying lineup. It comes under the fighter thing. Sign me up.
Well, if we're gonna add to that, I mean, I know how you said that it's not going to be one that's probably got a chance of coming up, but the one that I would love to see would be the F-22, and I know that it's everyone wants to see an F-22, but it's just the aircraft that's just got a legend around it, even though it hasn't really been, I would say, probably field tested. I guess it has been field tested, but it's not been.
What do you mean? It's been perfectly field tested. It shot down a couple of balloons.
Yeah, yeah, but the balloons don't shoot back.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a shame because I'd always love to see an F-22 because it would just send everyone into a collective like madness.
Yes.
But if I was going to be realistic, that's currently in service, it's actually a very difficult question to answer.
Well, I'll come back to you. I'm going to throw Chloe under the bus now. Chloe, what would it be? I have an idea, but I'm going to see what you.
Phantoms. Absolutely. When was it they came? It wasn't last year. It was the year
24,
wasn't it?
24, yeah. The Greek one specifically that we saw on the Friday arriving, yeah.
Especially with how they ragged it in when they came in.
So.
They're always a nice sight, Phantoms.
Well, we've got a chance. I mean, they went to the Belgium Air Force Days last year, and they did a solo display. It was meant to be a set of pairs fly past, but they actually upgraded it closer to the show to a solo display. Granted, there was more time between for positioning the aircraft rather than manoeuvres, but that would be your go-to.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a Phantom.
Right, Harry, you've had lots of time now. You've got to pick. Put you on the spot now, right now.
Oh god, I don't. So just to clarify, these are ones that are currently in service, or is just doing like other buyers? I probably should have asked this beforehand, but
yes.
So it's current ones that are in service. Oh, that's.
I guess you could go out of service as long as there's one civilian operated. I mean, it does say dogfighters from the entire last century, so that's the last 100 years. So in theory.
Well, I would say if we're going for dogfighters from the last century, as this combines with another little thing that I love, I'd say probably bring in. I think I would probably bring in a Sabre. Some of the first, Sabre, or if just buy out of any chance, Sabre or a MiG, because they are some of the first, practical jet aircraft that were seen in combat, and and also they're some of my favourites. I'm a little bit biased.
I would love to see a MiG. I know there is a company in Poland that are restoring a MiG, I believe, 17 to airworthy status, and they do want to display it within Europe. Whether or not we would get it, the last time I heard, the plans were to get it airworthy by spring of 2026. Now, I don't know if that's the case anymore, but that is it's a potential, right? It's something that genuinely could happen. And I guess it fits your aircraft, maybe? I don't know whether or not we get it flying. I think if we were going to say anything...
One thing I do find, if it doesn't matter if it's jets here, one thing I do find quite unusual, despite the fact that there's been nearly 15,000 of these things built, you don't see many of them flying. I mean, obviously, like, they are some of the world's, first practical jet aircraft. I say that, but they were the first ones that had incorporated the swept wing design, which obviously is now it's as common as muck on jet aircraft. But you never seem to find many of them flying. I mean, I know for a fact that North Korea still uses them. I mean, then again, all their stuff's from the 1950s, so what can I say? But I would just really want to see a MiG-17, but I'd love to see a MiG-15. But obviously, I know a lot of the MiG-15s were converted into MiG-17s. But when I think of Cold War jet aircraft, I immediately go to the MiG.
Yeah, the MiG of the Sabre, the proper air intake from the middle of the nose, and then sort of the swept wing kind of design. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'd love to see one in person. It's just insane.
I think the theme is going to be very good. I think it's a bold theme. I think it's a theme that could be done well. I think it relies definitely on a lot of other air forces pulling through. So I think you've got to rely on Middle Eastern air forces. You've got to probably rely on Asian air forces to make it that diverse spectacle that it could be.
Yeah.
But if it is done well, I could see it being similar to the F-16 theme in 22? No, 24.
Yeah, 24.
Being very successful like that, long line of F-16s, maybe it could be a diverse flying lineup in this case. If you think about it, let's say, you pull the German Tornado, you're probably going to get an F-16, you're probably going to get an F-18, you're probably going to get a Typhoon, you get the French Rafale, you get a Middle Eastern, demo, I'm thinking UAE Mirage 2000, I'm thinking Saudi F-15 maybe, and then you pull something from Asia, let's say it's I don't know, let's go properly out the boat, JF-17, get a Jeff in, get a Indian Su-30, properly something rare like that, then I think you call this year a success. But at the same time, it can fall on its backside. And I think it's a very bold move to go for, but I think this is probably the last year you can get away with it, with air forces retiring things. The Greeks getting rid of the F4 very, very soon. I think it's by the end of 2026. The Greeks will no longer have it. The Turks aren't too far away from that as well. So the idea is this the last year you probably do it before you then just get a line of F-35s? Probably. And that's why I think it's got to be a success, because this is probably the last year you can do something like this.
Yeah, I would agree with that sentiment.
Okay, on to the last part then this episode. The thing that I warned you about at the start. To get to know us, I thought we'd do a little segment right at the end on our favourite aircraft, why it's our favourite aircraft, what is it, etc. Just so you can get to know us, know our personalities, and I'm sure you'll get to know us as we go through many, many more episodes throughout 2026 and through the airshow season. I'm going to start off first with my favourite aircraft, and it can only be, and it was never in doubt. I set the question up, and I knew before I even asked the question what my answer was going to be, and that is the Vulcan. I was very lucky, compared to you two, to be able to see the Vulcan flying. My dad taking me to air shows and stuff, and I got to see it fly so many times before it was retired. And there is just something about seeing that big Delta Wing aircraft at the end of the runway. You hear the power spool up. you hear that howl, it gets into the sky, and then you forget it's a bomber. It acts like a fighter jet. And I will never ever forget its last display at RIAT in 2015, and having it take off. And as soon as its nose and its back wheels leave the ground, the pilot rolls it to the right, wingtip nearly touching the ground, and pulls off the display line. Honestly, you will never ever have an aircraft like that ever again. And that if I was a billionaire and I could put any money into anything, it would be building a new Vulcan, brand new from scratch, with aircraft hours, all the original designs from Rolls-Royce. I'd put billions of pounds into it. Granted, I probably should do something else like solving world hunger, but hypothetically a brilliant world. Put it into building a completely new Vulcan.
Yeah, I will also vouch for this. Dan has always spoke passionately about the Vulcan, and as someone else who also likes the Vulcan, just purely for it being a Cold War aircraft, and just obviously just the iconic profile, and also being the core of our nuclear bomber fleet, I can definitely vouch for Dan saying when he says he loves this aircraft, he loves it.
It's just for me. It's all the weird and funny facts. It's the things that you hear. It's the there's 10 years between the first flight of the Lancaster and the first flight of the Vulcan. It's the stories you get told from pilots that when the US Air Force decided that they were going to see whether or not they could beat the air defences above Washington DC and fly above the White House and take a photo with the U-2, actually 5,000 feet higher, the RAF had heard about it and were flying a Vulcan that took a photo of the U-2 taking a photo of the White House. Granted, that photo doesn't seem to exist. It is just almost a legend that's been talked about, but those little things, those little nuggets from the cruise and stuff, it's just amazing. And that's why I will always love that aircraft completely. Anyway, right, enough about mine. Harry, do you want to go next?
I'd say I'll let Chloe go next.
Go on then.
Mine's more of a very specific thing. Because for me, the Bavarian Tigers Typhoon's got to be the favourite just because they have so many nice schemes.
As I said at the start of this episode, Chloe is an absolute sucker for special schemes. Every single time there is one coming to RIAT, that is the thing that we focus on, like Cyborg Tiger a couple of years ago.
It was just literally night broke, so we never got to see that one fly.
And why did you not get to see that one fly? What happened that year that made you not be able to see it fly?
I don't remember.
Did you not potentially fall asleep in the car once we got there after a long 3.5 hour journey?
Oh, I did.
So you never saw the Cyborg Tiger that year because it broke after we flew on the Friday, and then on the Monday it started up and the entire German crew cheered after it didn't work the entire weekend. So yours is specifically the Bavarian Tiger Typhoon then?
Yeah, just because they really know how to do a scheme and they rag it about like crazy as
They
well.
do rag it about like crazy. I think that something stupid is from that year is that the pilot basically on average pulled, I believe, 3G throughout his entire display, which is insane sort of numbers. Right then, Harry, your turn.
Yeah, well, this may not come as a surprise to my fellow co-hosts here, but to all those listening, my favourite aircraft is without a doubt the Lockheed SR-71, aka also known as the Blackbird. It is probably one of the most iconic reconnaissance aircraft ever made. Its profile is immediately iconic. It's just so cool. It's just such a cool aircraft. I think ever since I first personally saw it, this is gonna you'll learn a lot about me here. When I first saw it, my first experience with it was actually in the video game Call of Duty Black Ops, when you play the mission where you actually get to pilot one of these things. And when I first saw it, I was like, I love this profile, and I was like, I want to know more about this. And then I just started looking into it, and I was like, I love this thing. I want one. The Blackbird is just such the profile is iconic, and to all those who know what it looks like, you could probably understand.
So basically, you're saying under the tree at Christmas this year, you want an SL-71.
Yes, I mean it might be a little bit big. I mean, just a few little short facts. It first flew in 1966. It first flew in 64. Introduced into the US military in 66, retired in the 1980s. NASA continued to use it till the very end of the last century. It holds many world records. It has set in 1974. It set the record for the quickest flight between London and New York, which was at a mind-boggling 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 56 seconds. And it's also the fastest. And then 2 years later, it became the fastest air-breathing manned aircraft. And of this year, it still holds those records. No other aircraft has beaten them. I mean, yeah, it has successors, but no one cares about them. They look awful. And, it's the Blackbird is my favorite. It's just such a cool aircraft.
The one fact that I always remember from it is because of how fast and hot it used to go, because it has to have so much movement be able to do in the panels, because of it almost expanding with the heat of the friction with the air, is that apparently when refueled on the ground before taking off, it would literally leak fuel out the cracks, because it had to be able to be so like move about and with its engineering. So it used to literally leak fuel, which is just insane. Again, the sort of engineering that goes on behind these aircraft, and again, the SR-71 is like you say, one of the cool aircraft, the cool things that unfortunately all of us never got to see fly. Which, if I could time travel back, I'm going to sort of like a Mildenhall Air Festival, or the only time it flew at Riyadh in, was it 87, 88? They posted about it this week on their socials, and I completely forgot now. Anyway, I'd go back to one of those dates, absolutely.
Yeah, I would hop along with you, because it's just, I mean, just from where it flew, like it first flew over in the Vietnam War, it flew over North Korea, it's flown out of RAF Mildenhall, it's flown over the Baltic and Barents Sea coastlines, it's done missions over in Cuba, Nicaragua, Libya, it's probed nuclear weapon installations in Israel and South Africa. Yeah, fun fact, South Africa had nuclear weapons, believe it or not. It's a little fun fact from me. It's flown everywhere, but ironically, but it's always strangely, it's never flown over China in terms of its missions, which I always, because they were used over Soviet airspace, but they never flew them over any of its satellite states or over the People's Republic, which I always found very unusual. Reason they always want to spy on them, but there probably was political reasons behind it, or just wanting to not make sure it doesn't, give out. But it's a fantastic aircraft. It's never been shot down. I mean, only 32 of them were ever built. 12 were unfortunately lost in accidents, but none of them were ever shot down. And to me, that's what makes it special. It's so cool that it's never been shot down by any other aircraft. Mainly because it flies too high.
Well then, I think that has been a brilliant first episode of this podcast. I hope everyone that has listened to this has enjoyed it. We've got more to come. We hope to do episodes every 2-3 weeks, depending on what's been announced. Obviously, between now and the new year, if we don't get much announcements, we'll probably wait another week and go 3 weeks' time. But we absolutely are going to get going. We're coming up to Airshow announcements coming back. Riyadh's Airshow announcements back in February. And then we are full force from there all the way into the Airshow season with loads and loads of episodes, lots and lots of updates, reviews of Airshows. I'm sure we're going to talk about the goods, the bads, the uglies. And I'm sure we're going to have a brilliant time doing so. I have been Dan. Joining me has been Chloe and Harry. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please follow our social medias and also rate this podcast 5 stars if you really, really did enjoy it. And other than that, it's time to say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.